Hello and welcome to another Deck Musings. So, in this series we are now up to this period here. And we're at one of those interesting spots where, in the course of the year, standard is going to be the smallest it can be, because we've gone from having 2 full blocks and whatever the current core set was at that time. I remember core sets stayed in for 2 years, not just 1, but 2 years. And so the oldest block has dropped out. That'll be the invasion block, invasion, plane shift and apocalypse. You can see that's gone now. We still have 7th edition. We've got the full Odyssey block, and then we have the newest set from the most recent block. The first set from the newest block, which is Onslaught, and then from that point onwards, obviously standard will just get bigger, and then we'll be back round again in a year cycle. So I'm going to talk about a deck from Masters, or we're going to base this episode around a deck from Masters, which was a component in Pro Tour Chicago. So here's the field. That's everybody that competed in this part. So like I said, Masters was part of the Pro Tour, or a Pro Tour tournament. And I don't think I've really mentioned this before, or at least I don't remember mentioning it. So the Masters Series was a special tournament program that ran from 2000 to 2003. So funny that I should mention it. Literally the year it gets wrapped up. And it was run in conjunction with several Pro Tour events. And the idea was you sort of brought together the best of the Magic players in a single tournament for a large cash prize. Some of the events were broadcast on ESPN. And I'll see if I can find a link to this particular one on YouTube, and I'll post it in the descriptions. I've noticed that a lot of the links in MTG Wiki that link to where it was hosted on the original, in its original position on, say, the WotC site for Magic the Gathering are broken. But that's the case with a lot of older Magic the Gathering content. When they had their sort of site reorganisation, a whole ton of links broke. So, and that's been a thing for a long while, and it's never really been fixed by people that link to it, because I think there's just so many so many broken links. The Master Series were single elimination tournaments for 32 players. 30 of the players were invited based on prior standing. Of those, 16 were seeded into the bracket, and the rest were paired against the seeded players randomly. The last 2 players were invited by winning a gateway tournament held just before the main event. Generally, rounds of Masters play were held in the evenings so that the players could also participate in the adjoining Pro Tour event. And as I've said, I'm not even going to bother clicking on these. These are in the sideboard area of the Wizards website, and I suspect they're broken. Or at least they were when I checked them originally, unless they've been fixed in the last week or so, but I doubt it. So here's the deck listing. I'm using Channel Fireball here. They have a deck listing. The deck listing from that period. We're going to look at this deck, a Beast deck. You can see there's a lot of Psychotog here, which we looked at last week. There's a bit of Squirrel opposition. That's actually, I think, what ultimately won. And then we've got some red-green beatdown as well. There's a Cunning Wake deck in here, a Sly deck, sort of stuff. So yeah, let's have a look at the deck. So it'll be nice to look at just a good old creature deck. So 26 creatures, 4 Birds of Paradise, single green, 0/1 with flying, tap, add 1 mana of any colour to your mana pool. 4 Llanowar Elves, single green, it's a 1/1, tap, add green to your mana pool. We've got 4 Wild Mongrels, 1 on a green, 2/2, discard a card from your hand. Wild Mongrel gets +1/+1 and becomes the colour of your choice until end of turn. We've got an Anurid Brushhopper, so 1 green, white, there's 4 of those. And that's from Judgment. It's a 3/4. You discard 2 cards from your hand, remove Anurid Brushhopper from the game. So that's Anurid Brushhopper. Return it to play under its owner's control at the end of turn. 4 Ravenous Baloths, 2 and 2 green. It's a 4/4. Sacrifice a beast, you gain 4 life. There's 4 of those. We've got 3 glories, 3 and 2 white. It's a 3/3 with flying. 2 and a white. Creatures you control gain protection from the colour of your choice until end of turn. Play this ability only if glory is in your graveyard. And 3 Exalted Angels, 4 and 2 whites, 4, it's a 4/5 with flying. And whenever Exalted Angel deals damage, you gain that much life. It has morph for 2 and 2 white, so you can play this face down as a 2/2 creature, 4/3, turn it up anytime for its morph cost, and it's a 4/5 once you do that, or if you pay the casting cost in the first place. And that is from Onslaught. So 7th edition, Odyssey, Judgment, and a couple of Onslaught cards here, and then another Judgment card in the creature area. 3 instants. We've got Beast Attack. 2 and 3 green. Put a 4/4 green beast creature token into play. It also has flashback, so for 2 and 3 green you can play it from your graveyard for its flashback cost, then remove it from the game. 23 lands. So of course we've got the benefit again, I think this is what we saw recently. We've been covering a lot of standard stuff, and so we've got the benefit of non-basic lands from the core set and from other sets happen to be in standard. So we have Brushland and City of Brass, both from 7th edition. With Brushland you can tap it for 1 colourless mana to your mana pool. If you want to get the green, access to the green white, however, when you tap it, it deals 1 damage to you. City of Brass does 1 damage when it becomes tapped. Tap, add 1 mana of any colour to your mana pool. But there's no facility through this to just add, there's no other option here to tap for 1 colourless mana. It's mana of any colour here, and you always get dealt damage. Contested Cliffs. Tap, add 1 mana of any colour to your mana pool. Red-green, tap, choose target beast you control and target creature an opponent controls. Each creature deals damage equal to its power to the other. So we've seen that in Magic on other cards, that sort of fight idea. And there's cards that do other things as well, like ones that additionally play around with the power toughness as well to give you an advantage in the outcome. We've got 6 forests, 1 mountain and 3 plains. We also have a Wooded Foothills. So Onslaught had these non-basics where you tap them, you pay 1 life, you sack them, and then you search your library for a mountain or forest card and put them into play, then shuffle your library. So these sort of dual fetch lands, I suppose. 8 sorceries, 4 living wishes, so 1 and a green, choose a creature or land card you own from outside the game, reveal that card and put it into your hand. Remove Living Wish from the game. So we saw this card before previously, and in tournament play that's basically allowing you to take stuff from your sideboard. So we have 4 cards here which will get anything in our sideboard into our hand. We've got 4 Call of the Herds, 2 and a green, put a 3/3 green elephant creature token into play, and it has flashback 3 and a green. So we've got 2 token generators, 4, one for beasts, one for elephants, one for beasts, and both of them have flashback. And you can see here also they can synergize with this if you want to gain some life to not die. 15 cards in the sideboard. So again, and I think I pointed out this last week with the other deck we looked at. It's nice here, you know, you're going to see probably a lot more one-offs than usual because of this card. Because they're giving you extra utility to your deck without actually you having to sideboard them in. And there's some other cards here where there's 2 elves, but you notice there's a 3 elf there actually for a Naturalize. So some of these will just get, you know, naturally sideboarded in based on matchups, but you've got a number of cards here that you can just leverage through the use of this card. So we have an extra contested cliffs, so we can bring our deck up to, what have we got? 2 copies. So yeah, 3 copies. We've got 2 composts, 1 on the green. Whenever a black card is put into an opponent's graveyard, you may draw a card. We've got 3 Naturalize, so they'll do artifacts and enchantments, get rid of those. A Goblin Sharpshooter, it's 2 and a red, 1/1, doesn't untap during your untap step. Whenever a creature is put into a graveyard from play, untap Goblin Sharpshooter, tap Goblin Sharpshooter, deals 1 damage to target creature or player. So it's a pinger, but you've got, you know, this additional thing you have to deal with the untapping business. We've got 1 Intrepid Hero, 2 and a white, 1/1, tap, destroy target creature with power 4 or greater. Nullmage Advocate, 2 and a green, return 2 target cards in an opponent's graveyard to his or her hand, destroy target artifact or enchantment. 1 Anger, 3 and a red, 2/2 with haste, as long as it's in the graveyard and you control a mountain. Creatures you control have haste. 2 Worships, so 3 and a white, if you control a creature, damage that would reduce your life total to less than 1, reduces it to 1 instead. 1 Genesis, so you can see some similarities here. No doubt we're going to be looking at some cycles, I suspect. So Genesis 4 and a green. At the beginning of upkeep, if Genesis is in your graveyard, you may pay 2 and a green. If you do, return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. 1 Glory, 3 and 2 white for 3/3 with flying. 2 and a white creature you control, gain protection from the colour of your choice until end of turn. Play this ability only if Glory is in your graveyard. And then Silklash Spider, 3 and 2 green. Silklash Spider may block as though it had flying. X, 2 and a green. Silklash Spider deals X damage to each creature with flying. So it's always interesting to look at these incarnation cards and sort of make a note with the deck, like how is it going to get those into the graveyard. So one is obviously through just dying through combat. Another one is there's going to be cards in here that discard, and so they might be a good discard target. And then additionally, of course, if for whatever reason you get to a point where your hand is overstocked, and maybe you haven't been able to play stuff, or maybe you're deliberately not playing stuff, and you just let it get up to over 7, and then you have to discard end of turn. So that could be another way. So interesting deck. I'm looking forward to looking at some similar cards in Magic. But first, the most important part, let's look at the basics. So, Onslaught basics. So this would have been the most recent artwork in Standard from a set. I didn't really point out my favourite, did I? Tricky. I just like this one, I'm not sure why. You'll notice with these, you can see like a reoccurring theme here. I don't see anything here that reflects these buildings. Let's have a look and see if we can see like a reoccurring thing. Oh yeah, here we go. Nothing on this one. I think I like this one. Yeah, either this or this is my favourite. Probably this. Oh, forests. This is quite unusual. This is nice. This reminds me of like standing in. I used to find where I lived when I was in the UK. I lived near to Ashdown Forest, and specifically there was the Royal Ashdown Golf Course, which you could go across, and then you could go into part of Ashdown Forest, which was also part of Broadstone Warren. And there were areas in there where they had these groups of trees in the middle of the forest, which were all in lines. And in particular parts, you used to get this really nice effect where, you know, at sunrise or sunset, you could see the sunlight through the trees like this, because all the trees were lined up. So I do find this very evocative. I don't really see that so much where I live in Nova Scotia. The sort of, you know, the wilderness area, which we're quite close to, is quite swampy. It's nice, and there's proper trails there, but areas of it are pretty swampy. And, you know, quite different sorts of trees as well. Anyway, Wooded Foothills. So, Abandoned Pioneer. These were reprinted for Khans. They've been in the expeditions. So we should have a look at some fetch lands, I think. So here's our cycle. So you can see here we've got the full cycle. So what we should do is look at the history of these. Set them out on the timeline. So here we go. So here's our cycle that's relevant for this episode. And then, oh, this makes me happy. Anybody else? What is it about Zendikar? I know that, I suppose for me, that was the block when, you know, I first came over to Canada. So, what was it? The block. So Zendikar came out in 2009, and I wasn't really on the ball with Magic. But then when I came over in 2010, and I showed my wife my 10th edition stuff, and she said, "Oh, you should get back into that. It looks really interesting." So I remember going to a local game store, and at that point, I think World Wake had just come out. So yeah, it would have been M10. So that was the first of the core sets with where they were going over to every year. Then they had Zendikar, World Wake, Rise of the Eldrazi. And yeah, so Zendikar would have been 2009, and then World Wake, Rise of the Eldrazi would have been 2010. And yeah, I think because of that point that those were the ones I was opening again. I just really smile. And there was just such cool cards in Zendikar. And of course these. And I bet that's the original Zendikar. Interesting. I suppose because I've had quite a few reprints. I don't know. So these would have been... What have we got? So black, red, white, blue, blue, black, green, white, red, green were the original site, the first part of the cycle. And then these were the enemy ones. So a big gap there. And it looks like it's the enemy ones. Have they been reprinted the most? Yeah. So if there are any like Eternal format players or any just modern players out there that you know want to enlighten me, obviously you know the price on these are lower because they've been reprinted, but I'm curious to know, and maybe it's really obvious, but why it is that they haven't reprinted the allied ones as much as the enemy ones. Well, it's probably something really obvious, but yeah. So, and I'm assuming that's, you know, obviously relates to Eternal formats. I'm just putting it out there. So that's that specific thing. Now the other thing, which I'm curious about, is just fetch lands generally. So we've got 37 fetch lands in Magic, and it's interesting because, oops, you can see what I was just doing the other day. That's funny. Yeah, I rushed that one out pretty quick. Dropped the ball on that. I was trying to work out why I did that, because I was all geared up to do it, and then I realised I got a bit engrossed in doing those CS50 courses last week, or one of them anyway, and just time flew by. Anyway, back to the fetch land business. So if you remember this cycle from Mirage, when they come into play tapped, oh, the indignity, you sack them and then search them for an island or swamp card, put them in your hand, shuffle your library afterwards. So we have those, and we have Terminal Moraine from Plane Shift. So I had one colourless mana to your mana pool. This is interesting. So you can either just use it for colourless mana, or you can pay 2, sacrifice it, search your library for a basic land card, and then put it into play tapped, and shuffle your library. So what's that? That's sort of got a Evolving Wilds stapled to it for the cost of 2. We've got a Croson Verge. It's a Forest and Plains card. That's from Judgment. Comes into play tapped. Oh dear. Bloodstained Mire. So yeah, these are the ones from this period. And we have Terramorphic Expanse. So that came out around the time as Time Spiral. And then these, which are interesting, the Panoramas. So you can tap them for colourless mana, pay 1, sacrifice them, and then they will search out, they will fetch for 1 of 3 basic land cards, forest, plains or island. Now the key thing here as well to note is, you see here, these can search out for anything with that's a land, whether it's basic or not basic. So, well, anything that's got specifically mentions swamp or islands in it. Where you'll see some specifically have it has to be a basic land, and you know, people who've played Magic for a while will know, or are familiar with Magic will know, there's a number of non-basic lands that also have the land type in them. Yep, so the Panoramas. And they're those ones we looked at. Then Evolving Wilds appeared, Rise of the Eldrazi. And we've got other things like Myriad Landscape, Warped Landscape, Field of Ruin. So all these sort of one-offs that do some sort of fetching in various ways. We do have, looks like another cycle here. So we've got some stuff in Streets of New Capenia. I don't know if is that a, yeah. So that is a full cycle. When it enters the battlefield, sack it. When you do, search your library for a basic forest, plains or island card, put it into battlefield tap, then shuffle your, and you gain 1 life. So interesting way of doing things. So that does it off an ETB. And we got this one from the Brothers' War, and this one from Lord of the Rings, Tales of Middle-earth. Okay, moving on. City of Brass. I'm sure we've looked at this a lot before. Rainbow Land, so yeah, anything that does Wooburg colours, I believe. Similar to Grand Colosseum, Tarnished Citadel, and Mana Confluence. Virtual Legendary, it's a Pain Land. So yeah, you can see there's a number of lands in Magic that have the ability to produce the colours of Magic. So, transform card. Interesting. missing something? Not sure why they're there. I'm just probably something staring me right in the face as always. I don't see any mention of generating multiple colours. Yep. Must have missed something. Oh, these. I do like these. The Vivids. Contested Cliffs. So, Tribal Beast Utility Land. So yeah, any land that has additional utility on it. In some of these double-sided things, the land's on the other side. All the way back to Bolivian trading post. And I'm pretty sure this is something we have looked at quite a lot in these episodes. Talaria, seemingly the first utility land. Oh, nice artwork. So what have we got here? Just looking to see. Any other ones that are sort of tied to certain creature types in some way? Interesting. So let's actually have, because we've seen quite a few, let's just look at all of the, I'm curious about in this set, in Onslaught, the lands. I'll net off the basics. I'm sad to do that, but you know, needs must. Okay. Just do it by rarity. So in here we have the cyclers at common. Then we have these at uncommon. So soldiers, goblins, birds, clerics, elves. And this is interesting. So we got a mixed bag here. So, you know, scattered in amongst this, we've got, you know, here's our fetch lands that we were looking at earlier. But then also, you've got some other rares here. Just looking to see what order might be best put in. I don't know whether, if I do it by the set number, it's probably not going to be any easier to see now, because it does by colour. Rarity probably is slightly easier. I suppose I could net off the cycles. Wonder if that would work. Yeah, okay. So these three are not considered to be part of a cycle. So the other thing I want to do is just look at all the rare stuff. So 5 of these are part of a cycle, and then you've got, interesting, so these, what cycle are these considered to be part of? That one isn't. It's the tribal lands. Oh, okay. That's interesting. So they're different rarities, the other ones. Okay. Yeah, so what I'm checking is I was just curious because there's a couple here that clearly reference, aren't part of that cycle, but do reference creature types. Yeah, interesting. Okay. Oh, good old Brushland. Yeah, this is we've looked at Paylands quite a number of times now. Okay, Living Wish. So these were cycle from Judgment, which we suspect we looked at last week. And you can see all of them. You get to choose something from outside the game. Artifacts or enchantments, instants, any card, but you did lose life. Sorcery, and then creature or land. Wild Mongrel. Another card that's come up quite a number of times now. So a Shade Pump, if you haven't seen previous episodes, is where effects are given arbitrary amount of +1/+1 till end of turn. See also Fire Breathing in red and Armoring in white. Birds of Paradise. So similar to Gilded Goose. Referenced by a number of cards. It's a mana dork, of which there are many in Magic. And you can see I've sliced and diced through these in the past by seeing what sort of searches I've done here, because I never clear the search history, just to help me with that respect. What I am curious about is if I do any, what do we get? Maybe I need to be a bit specific. So any colours. So yeah, there's quite a number of cards here that fall into the same category, and are able to, one, they're a mana dork, and two, they produce mana of any colour. Although you can see there's a number of caveats and other things. So this one mana of any colour that a land you control could produce. And of course this is just creatures. Anything with that has a type of creature in it. Of course there's a ton of just regular artifacts and other things that will do a similar thing, but they're not attached to a body. Beast attack. So, yeah, a lot of cards that you can cast from the graveyard. Similar to Shadow Beast Sighting. That's a sorcery. So for me, what I'm curious about as a result is, so we've got type of instant. So I imagine there's an awful lot of instant things that create tokens. Yeah. So when was that a first? First a thing, instant speed token generation is Carrion from Mirage. Sack a creature, put into play a number of maggot tokens equal to the sacrificed creature's power. These tokens, that looks interesting. Well, it does to me anyway. So did that become more of a thing, instant speed tokens, like in the modern era? I don't know, it's scattered around, isn't it? You can see it as a feature on some charms. Do we see like a difference in what colours do it? Okay, so 65 white instants that somewhere on them have a reference to token. Although of course that could be something else. I mean, I wonder if I do into play, assuming stuff has been errated and everything. Oops. Might not be quite alright. Let's look at the create. Okay. Just make sure the older stuff has been errated. If I just take that back out again. Yeah. Okay. So 62. What about blue? 51. Although interestingly, historically, well, I know what I've just done. Let me start again with this. Sorry about this. Okay. We'll start again. So I forgot to add first printing. Okay, that's more like it. So my mistake. So Broken Visage from Homelands is the first time. There's a few before Carrion. Just forgot to show the first printing. It's interesting it was on this card Afterlife as well. Errand of Duty. Not a happy camper. Put a night token into play. Treat this token as a 1/1 white creature with banding for 1 and a white. Okay, let's go again then. So, in white, 62. And then now in the right order. In blue, 51. There's Tidal Wave. Oh, Thunderheads. In black, we have Broken Visage. In red, probably Goblins of some... Oh, Artifact Mutation. Interesting. And remember, these are instant speed. This is not, because there's a number of sorceries as well that do the same thing. In green. There's our beast attack. If you start going through and looking at sorceries, just to contrast. So we just go backwards. You'll probably see that the count's higher, I think. And of course some of these reference creating a token as a result of something else, I suspect. So anyway, so we have Call of the Herd. And in Glory, and these ones that needed to be in the graveyard. So activate from the graveyard is a thing. And there are quite a number of ways that's done in Magic, but I'm particularly interested in incarnations here. I can't see anything else here. Let's have a look. That piques my interest. Isn't that interesting? So personal incarnation. Okay. At that point it was an avatar. They must have, errated it. So glory, valor, wonder, filth, anger, brawn, genesis. In the set, some you can see here we've got 2 ofs in white and green. So the cycle, if there is indeed one, so the cycle is those: anger, brawn, filth, valor, wonder. So glory and genesis are extra, but interesting to see how many of these are in that deck in terms of the sideboard. And then also we have them in Lorwyn, or not the same ones, but you know, incarnations, and they, I believe, are also part of a cycle. Not sure off the top of my head what else similar-ish cropped up in Shadowmoor. Certainly they weren't incarnations. And then we got a cycle here in Modern Horizons by the look of things. Modern Horizons 2, and then there was this one in the Doctor Who. One's a human incarnation. Yeah, it's definitely some very creepy elemental artwork around the time of Lorwyn. Well, some of this stuff's pretty creepy. Llanowar Elves. Yeah. Usual things. Oh, we've seen this a number of times already. This is interesting, this cycle of spell shaped from foot. Oh yeah, I've been through this before a few times. Were they all in 10th edition? Something like that. Looks like I tried something like that before. Oh, 10E, that's it. I don't know what I'm doing wrong here. I am not on the ball this morning at all, sadly. Anyway, I think I'll move on. What's gone wrong there? But yeah, I've obviously done something stupid. Anurid Brushhopper. Oh, flicker. That was the word I was trying to think of. Flicker. So it flickers self as opposed to flickering other things. So interesting ability, I think. Shifty doppelganger. Better be careful when I say that. Remember to pronounce the F. Looks like we're seeing more predominance in recent cards. I don't know. Certainly only seems to have happened twice pre the modern era. Although now, of course, the modern era covers quite a number of sets. Oh yeah, Deadeye Navigator. This is cool. Oh, and of course there was this cycle from Origins as well that did that. And then we got Netherhall. Exalted Angel. It was in from the vaults. But that's about it. Old lifelink. Okay. So what is old life? Before lifelink was keyworded in Magic 2010, it was a triggered ability. Okay. 29 old lifelink cards. And yeah, we've clearly been down this rabbit hole before. But let's just see how it fits in against the Magic timeline. Still kicking around a little bit in its old form. What's this cycle here? Cycle of Volvers. Funny. Oh yeah, look, the abilities sort of cycle round on the different cards. So the green one's got the blue and the black. The blue one's got the red and the green. The white one's got the black and the red. The black one's got the green and the white, and then the red one's the white and the blue. So yeah, there's a commonality there. Ravenous Baloth, sacrifice a creature, you gain 4 life. Was a Just Gift card at some point, and was in Commander 2013. Free sack outlet, non-creature tribal beast life gain. Yeah, I'm curious because I have a 5-colour beast deck. With Nurofen, or whatever his name is. Morophon, is it? Nurofen. Nurofen the Painless. Goblin Sharpshooter, Wow, 21 bucks. It's in the World Champ decks from 2003 and the Commander 2013. Death trigger, pinger, untap self, doesn't untap, burn any. And I think most of these we've been through pretty extensively. There's a number of cards that oh, doesn't look like I've looked at that tag before. Stuff that doesn't untap. Yeah, you can see quite a bit of old stuff. There's Grim Grin. Depth Charge Colossus. Right, you can see there are ways of getting it to untap. And some of these other ones, yeah, they're interesting to try and sort of cheat around it. Well, that's not really the right sort of word, but you know what I mean. Just do stuff that gets around the problem, and you get the benefit of having an 8/8 in play. Oh, there's Anger. So we looked at this cycle before. See if there's anything else I want to talk about. Synergy with Mountains. Yeah, well, this one was part of the cycle. I suspect there's quite a number of things that have synergies with Mountains. One of my favourites is going to be on here. I wonder if I can guess what it might be if I can find it. Let's see if my memory serves me correctly, but that's not always a good thing to rely on my... Ah, there we go. Valakut, the Molten Pinnacle. That's good. I think I might have a place out of these. I can't remember. Not sure. There's the cycle it's part of. Interesting, they're not. Are they classed? Yeah, I was going to say they all look like they should be legendaries. But then, yeah, that would cause problems. Intrepid Hero. Yeah, these are always interesting cards. The ones that sort of punch way above their weight, so you know they destroy bigger creatures. And there's a few removal spells like that. I was to do that, but what I'm curious about is, hang on. Just see if it's here still. What have we got? Stream of acid. Stalking assassin. Oh, there's Chromat. Oh, Vindicate. That was another card I was trying to think of, actually. Decimate. Four or more. So yeah, that'll be a reprint then. Okay. So we've got what? Yeah, it's got a reprisal staple to it then. You can see there's a number of instants and sorceries with it on. I was curious as to see how many times it comes up attached to a creature. So Intrepid Hero, Big Game Hunter, Hidden Dragon Slayer, Giant Killer. And if I mess around with this a little bit, yeah. It's what it could trigger off any number of things, that's the only thing. So. Compost. You may draw a card. Is that similar to anything? Not really. Interesting way of doing card draw. So we're definitely into sideboard, well into sideboard territory now. Nullmage Advocate. was in the Plane Chase product. Regrowth on it. Removal, enchantment, destroy. Selective group hug. That's funny. 104 selective group hug cards. What have we got? This is. I never thought of this as a category. Let's see. Oh, must have done obviously because it's coming up. So I just don't remember. Done so many episodes now. So could have even been last week. Who knows? Feldergriff and Lord of Trestlehorn. What about legends that do that? Looks like quite a thing in New Capenia. Naturalize, yeah. I don't know. I don't remember seeing this art. I mean, obviously, I probably stumbled across the artwork, but yeah, the cards had a number of iterations of the artwork over the years. There was that one that sort of cropped up in the core sets from about what 8th edition. So and of course there's cards that do similar things. Yeah. So disenchant as well. So there are 178 cards that can disenchant stroke naturalize. Yeah, so there's disenchant from way back in the day in white. So creeping mold does artifacts, lands or enchantments. And then was Naturalize the first sort of mono green one that just did just artifacts or enchantments for sort of the same CMC. Yeah. So all the shards is interesting. Good old acidic slime. Get that with a body as well. Yeah, it's quite a number here you can see, where it's similar to the Gross and Grip. It's instant speed as well. So. Yeah, but with the fact that it's been, reprinted a few times, and particularly in core sets here, or a number of core sets, just see what up to, if I do it in reverse order, so I'm 19, and other sets as well, and then all the different variants as well. Yep. It's a thing in green that you want. Silklash Spider. It's been in the commander product. Nice card this. X green, deals X damage to each creature with flying. Was that like a tornado type of hurricane? That's it. So it's got hurricane on it. So a spider with hurricane. And let's make ourselves familiar with hurricane if we aren't already. And you can see here something we've done in the past. There is hurricane. It's X and a green, as opposed to X and 2 green on the Silklash Spider. There's also in other colours as well. And then Windstorm, which is instant speed. It's Warship. If you control a creature, damage that would reduce your life total to less than 1, reduces it to 1 instead. So it was interesting, these sort of, don't lose spells. And there's a whole load of cards that do damage prevention in various ways. I mean, those ones, that particular card's interesting because of that thing where you can't go below a certain value, but yeah, the idea of preventing damage is all over Magic in lots of different cards, lots of different colours, how that turns up. But interesting to see this where if you control a creature, damage that would reduce your life total to less than 1 reduces it to 1 instead. Actually, so that would be all the ones that are tagged to be that specific version of it. Starting with Ali from Cairo, and you can see there it's originally as a saga. But not something we see a lot of. And then Genesis, which is also one of those incarnations, wasn't part of the incarnation cycle from the set, but that's because, if you remember, there was an extra one in a couple of the colours. And also, I didn't keep this up for very long, but as I pointed out, they had these cards that had the tombstone symbol on them when there was something particularly graveyardy about them. It's interesting, isn't it? Certain sort of extra symbols which we've seen come and go in Magic. Like, so if you remember, there were some sets aimed at beginners, like the Portal sets, where I think they introduced symbols down here. So there we have it. That was a very interesting deck, actually. Lots of different things here. I am getting, obviously realise, I'm mindful I'm getting to the point where I am starting to maybe repeat myself a little bit too much. So I'll, keep an eye on that and you know, might slightly change the tact of the episode accordingly, or maybe do something else that involves fun in Scryfall. I've got a few ideas, but for the moment I think I'm okay. I will see. It's nice because, like I said, because I don't clear the cache, you know, for that I can sort of see when I'm retreading over old ground. So thanks once again for watching. Bye for now, and I will catch you in a future episode.